Dokkan Files are a collection of videos aimed to investigate and reveal the truths behind the greatest mysteries and conspiracies in Dokkan history. This series is for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion may be advised.
I am very impressed on Raditz, on how awful his damage is and lack of utility he had. No way they actually playtested him and said, yeah, this is a 2022 unit. He legitimately feels like a 2020 unit. These are just some of the comments following the most controversial release in Dokkan history, Dokkan Festival exclusive physical Raditz. And it's very interesting because we have seen our fair share of mid-Dokkan Festival exclusive releases, but something about Raditz feels different. Something about Raditz feels personal. When you really consider the fact that not only a month before we got AGL Ginyu, the best Dokkan Fest exclusive to ever release, it just really prompts the question, how did we go from AGL Ginyu, the god of Dokkan, to physical Raditz, the worst character we've seen in years? It almost feels like this was a personal shot at not only me, not only you, but the entire Dokkan community as a whole. See, me personally, I'm not going to take that. In today's episode of the Dokkan Files, one of two things will happen as we investigate this case. Either A, we find out one responsible behind this malicious attack on the Dokkan community, or two, we figure out the message behind it. Was it simply an April Fool's joke, or was it something deeper? The first thing I did was look up April Fool's Day in Japan, since Raditz did release on April 1st, just to learn a little bit more about the culture and to see if there was any information I could find, and I landed on this site here that gave us a little bit more history about April Fool's Day and the culture of that day in Japan. But after scrolling down, I found a very crucial piece of information. Apparently, Toei Animation pranked everyone and mentioned that they are releasing a new season of Dragon Ball Super called Survival of New Members of Society. Now, we know that everyone, or generally most people, take April Fool's Day for what it is. Nothing more than a joke. But especially recently, we know that sometimes people don't take things as they are intended. What if someone took this personally? What if someone, one of the biggest Dragon Ball fans to ever exist, really believed this, got really excited, and got baited, and wanted revenge on not only the Dragon Ball community, but their favorite game of all time, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle? Now, I know it sounds like a stretch, but hear me out, because after researching this fake arc called Society Survival Saga, I realized that this joke was first aired in 2017. If we cross-reference this date with the release date of Raditz, we get a discrepancy of 5 years. So why would it take 5 years from the first airing of this prank to finally getting their revenge on the entire Dokkan Battle community? It seems like I figured out the answer. To become an associate producer over at Bandai Namco, or much of the other jobs they have there, you're going to need a bachelor's degree plus 1 year of relevant industry experience. A bachelor's degree takes 4 years. So 4 years on top of at least 1 year of experience means it would take anyone 5 years. 5 years, the same 5 years that share the discrepancy between Raditz and the April Fool's joke. So everything checks out so far. It seems like this joke prompted someone on the path of vengeance, and they took all 5 years to get back on the community. But what we don't have is why. So I continue to do a little bit more research, and the first question I eventually asked myself is, why April? So I looked up events of April 2022 in Japan, and I found this site right here. On the first, we have the beginning of the fiscal year in Japan. In the middle, we have the Sano Matsuri, apparently the spring festival in Japan. And at the end of April, beginning of May, we have the Japanese Golden Week. So 3 separate events here. What does the number 3 have in relevancy with Raditz? Well, we know that Raditz is one of 3 boys in his family. We have Bardock, number 1, Raditz, number 2, and Goku, number 3. So if we line up those numbers here, number 1 would be Bardock, number 3 would be Goku, meaning number 2 would be Raditz. So something about the Sano Matsuri festival has something to do with why Raditz was as bad as he was and why he launched this malicious attack against the Dokkan Battle community. And I know that it feels like a stretch, but hear me out. After doing a little bit more research on the Sano Matsuri festival, I found this very interesting transportation image here that shows the transportation lines of 3 different train stations, or lines if you will. We have the Sano Matsuri procession route, JR Chuo line, and the Yamanote line. What do you notice about these 3 lines? We have a gold yellow color, we have a red color, and we have a green color. What do they have to do with Dragon Ball? And what I quickly realized is that this was the heart. This image itself was portraying the heart of Dragon Ball. These 3 colors lined up perfectly with the entire essence of Dragon Ball, which is Shenron. We see the green, the red, and the yellow. So I knew I was on the correct path. Now, this red line already gave us what we know, the Sano Matsuri procession route. But what we don't know anything about is the JR Chuo line and the JR Yamanote line. So of course, I started off with the gold one, JR Chuo line, to do a little bit more research about what we have going on here. And I discovered that both the JR Chuo line and the JR Yamanote line make up the majority of transportation in central Tokyo, which means that our culprit, the person that we're looking for, has a good chance of at least traveling on one of these lines. So if we're going to find them, we have to locate these lines. But then I remembered that they probably work at Bandai Namco after taking those 5 years for the bachelor's and 1 year of experience. So what did I do? I went ahead and found the headquarters of Bandai Namco. And what do we see here? The Yamanote line. So apparently our culprit, who has to have worked here at the Bandai Namco headquarters, has definitely taken the Yamanote line. But the question is, where does this line go? If we can take a look at its entire route, we can basically cross off every other place and zero in on where our malicious attacker lies. So I did a little bit more research regarding the Yamanote line, and I found just what I was looking for: the route map for the Yamanote line. But what do you notice immediately about the shape of this route map? You can't sit here and tell me that this outline doesn't look very similar to the shape of a radish. Which, by the way, in case you didn't connect it yet, that's what Raditz himself is named after. So I knew this right here was the heart of what we are looking for. So after doing a little bit of research on all of these places, I realized that there was nothing really irrelevant about any of these stops. But then I remembered, I'm not here looking at the outside. I'm here to look at the heart of the issue, the heart of the reason why Raditz was so bad on release. So after I took my attention away from the outside and focused it on the inside, I saw the Imperial Palace, which, coincidentally or not, is the heart of this entire route map. So I did a little bit more research, and we came up with the Imperial Palace is apparently the main residence of the Emperor of Japan. I didn't even know there was still an Emperor of Japan, but apparently there is. And after doing a little bit more research, I found that the Emperor of Japan currently is someone named Naruhito. What does Naruhito have to do with the malicious attack on the Dokkan community? Well, let's take a quick look at his name. His name comprises of two very well-known words. Hi and Naruto. Naruto is the direct competitor of Dragon Ball Z. Someone either watches Naruto and hates Dragon Ball, or watches Dragon Ball and hates Naruto. What if this prank set someone off, wanted revenge on the Dokkan community, and at the end of the day, their message was this: hi. That joke wasn't funny. Naruto is simply better.
What will the next investigation be?